Hi BookTube, my name is Kate and this is my channel Chapter Kate. Today's video is going to be a little bit more subdued. As you can see, I don't got much going on in the facial area. And I'm wearing my glasses, but that has nothing to do with anything. I just have a migraine. I don't actually wear contacts or anything, so it doesn't take any extra effort to not wear glasses. It takes more effort to wear glasses. But I'm having a headache and that's when I wear my glasses typically, because I have a thing, an eye thing. Not important. And also, not the point of this video. As I've mentioned before in a couple of my videos, I have bipolar disorder. I was diagnosed in college. This means I have periods of up moods where everything seems possible and I'm happy and I'm creative, and then I have low moods where I'm basically depressed and not super active or fun. Today I'm kind of on the downside. It's kind of visually obvious if you know me at all. We have this thing at work, because I do work at a psych hospital. We have a thing at work called manic makeup, because I work with the women. When they're kind of manic, a lot of them tend to wear more makeup and be a little more expressive in that area, and I'm the same way. So today I'm not up there like that. I'm on the downside. The purpose of this video is not for me to pour my soul out and talk about the fact I'm low or anything, because it's temporary and I know it's temporary. However, I did want to talk a little bit about some of my reading habits and how they change depending on what mood I'm in. So typically moods when you're bipolar are considered depressed, and then manic or hypomanic when you're in the up sort of mood. However, I have a hard time kind of telling if I'm manic or hypomanic at times, so I just kind of refer to them as up and down. So I'm going to talk about some of my reading habits first of when I'm in a down mood. So first of all, I read very, very slowly when I'm in a kind of down mood. It's really hard for me to get really invested into a book, and I find myself reading the same line over and over again because I don't really care that much. I'll put my book down. I won't carry my books around as much because I won't really be thinking about it. So it typically makes my reading experience a little bit slower than usual. Sometimes when I'm depressed I don't read at all. I'll just kind of lay around and get stuck in my head a lot of times. When I'm reading and I'm low, I kind of find myself becoming jealous of the characters a lot, and the fact they're having adventures, and I feel like my life is very boring and that I'm not doing enough with my time that I have. And it's a really weird thing to be jealous of a book character, but it's weird to have mental illness, so that's what it's like. I also find myself kind of jealous of writers and their ability to create these worlds, because I love to write, but I can never sit down and just write because my moods change so much that I'll write a lot when I'm up and then I'll stop when I'm low, and so I'll feel really jealous of writers and their talents and being able to actually focus and get things done like that. A lot of times I find myself sympathizing a lot with the characters and becoming really sad and hopeless with the state of the world just from reading books and some of the terrible things, the bad guys do and things like that. Sometimes when I'm low, audiobooks are a little bit easier because I don't actually have to put any effort into holding a book, which sometimes if you've experienced depression, even getting up and sitting up and holding a book open can just feel like so much work, and I'm definitely in that kind of zone today, so even making a video is a hard task when I'm in this mood. One thing that I thought was really interesting is, I kind of mentioned it a minute ago, but like I will get stuck on the same page and the same page and the same page, and I'll end up being on the same page for several days or weeks, depending on how long the low lasts. A lot of times my moods kind of can last around like 2 weeks, but it does fluctuate. Sometimes it's several switches in a week, and sometimes it can be a month or two, but usually around 2 weeks is where my moods go when they're not stable. And also I mostly read laying down when I'm in a low mood. Now I'm going to talk about the fun stuff. Where is that little curly coming from? This is new, like Clark Kent or something. Go over here. Being up or manic or hypomanic when you're bipolar isn't always just happy. It's more like a heightened state of everything. You get irritated more easily. You have a lot going on in your head. Sometimes you get stressed or anxious more easily. I sometimes get really paranoid when I'm in that mood, but typically we prefer it to the depression because it feels like being high on life almost, and there are a lot of good points to it. It's when you start easing off to the end of the ups that you feel pretty crappy, or if it gets so high that you're out of control, that's when you feel kind of crappy in those moods. But typically it does feel fun when you're in it. So these are the reading habits I have when I'm in an up mood. I have this weird habit when I'm in an up mood that I like to carry a lot of stuff around with me. I don't know if I feel like I'm going to need it or something, but I'll put like 3 books into my bag that I carry, because I carry a backpack to work instead of a purse because I don't really like purses. And I'll have 3 heavy books in there along with whatever my other stuff is, and it'll be really heavy. But that's one habit I have. Or I'll walk around with 1 or 2 books. I'll carry a book to lunch when I'm going out with my people at work, even if I'm not really planning on reading at lunch. I just carry it everywhere because I feel like I need to have it just in case. A lot of times when I'm in this sort of mood, I'm constantly changing like my position, like if I'm sitting or if I'm laying or if I'm standing or if I'm walking, using audiobook, whatever I'm doing, I'll constantly be changing position because I'm restless. My bookshelves in this mood are typically more organized. My dog kicked the camera. But they're typically more organized, whereas if I'm not in that kind of mood, I might leave my books everywhere. But if I'm in an up mood, I'm always putting them back immediately. Cleaning is actually a really common symptom of it, having an up mood, so that one's not any different for me. Another weird one is that I'll have kind of crazy book dreams. Like whatever I'm reading, I'll dream about it in really vivid and bizarre ways. It's really weird. I had pirate dreams for like 2 weeks, not during the pirate week that I was reading in, I think it was last week, but that has happened to me before, and it's been an adventure. I don't mind those dreams, but occasionally they can be disturbing, so I do have to kind of be careful with what I consume content-wise when I'm in that mood. When you're in an up mood, you also have this feeling where you just can't stop things sometimes. You have to keep going and keep going and keep going. So sometimes I just can't stop reading. I feel like I have to read more and read more and read more, and it just gets very overwhelming. It feels like you're kind of on a roller coaster or a ride or something, and you can't get off and you don't have control over it. And that's when it gets a little bit scary, is when you feel like you can't control whatever you're doing and you just can't stop doing what you're doing. It's very stressful. On the other side of that, sometimes when you're in an up mood, or personally, these are all for me, I stop reading every couple minutes to go do something else. I'll stop to go write. I'll stop to go, design a cover for my famous novel that's going to come out. I'll go do chores, I'll clean, I'll go spend a bunch of money that I don't have. Things like that. And it gets very distracting because you just want to do everything else. With that comes the overspending, which is a very common symptom of bipolar disorder that I mentioned in my haul video, is that I will spend a lot of money on books that I don't have. And it might not seem like a lot of money compared to some of the book hauls on YouTube, but from my bank account, it is too much. Even after that book haul that I made, I've bought like 7 or 8 more books after that were, some of them were, cheaper because I got them at a secondhand store. Some of them were not, and they were more expensive. Another thing is, if I'm in between books, I'll have a really, really hard time picking a book. I'll come into my library and I have 3 shelves over here and 3 shelves over there, and I'll just go back and forth, picking out books and then putting them back, and then I'll start a line and then I'll put it back, and it just gets a little bit comical because I can't decide. Something that's really big for me with keeping my bipolar disorder under wraps is having a very structured and steady sleep schedule. In college, I slept like every other night, and now I'm finally on a nice regular sleep schedule. However, if I'm in an up mood, I may stay up late trying to read, and it can throw everything off and kind of make me go downhill a little bit, so I do have to watch out for that. My dog is trying to eat my stool. Stop that. Go ahead, baby. I also find myself reading really quickly. Sometimes I'm actually absorbing the story, and sometimes my eyes are just going really, really fast, and I'm not actually getting anything in my head from it. And the last one is that I try to find symbolism in every single thing that I read, which you may notice in my book reviews, but that's just also kind of who I am. But I do try to find symbolism in every line. It's like, why did they use this word? Why did they use that word? And occasionally it is valid. Other times I'm trying to pull meaning out of the word "the," and that's not as valid. And that's all for my weird bipolar reading quirks. I will say that the things that I experience are not going to be the same as everybody that has bipolar disorder, and they're also not always the same for me. I'm, constantly changing. I'm not, the same person every day. Everything is always changing, and that's one thing that's comforting about bipolar disorder, is that even if you're in a low spot like I am right now, I know it's temporary and that it is going to go back up soon. You just have to hang on until it's time. But that's all I have for today, and if you'd like more of this junk, go ahead and hit subscribe below. Bye.